All right, this podcast is for the Algebra 2 projects, just kind of an informative, how do I do this project? What do I need to make sure I have everything? Okay, I'm going to do three simple letters here for you. I'm going to I've graphed Mr. F. I'm going to show you how all this goes. Okay, let's start at the very beginning. Let's start with the M. Okay, start with the M of Mr. Well, the first equation I see is this vertical line right here. Okay, vertical lines, that is an x equals. Where is that going to cross the x-axis? Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at negative 5. Okay, so that means that my bounds are in the y because it's starting down here somewhere in the y and ending up here in the y. It's not going anywhere in the x. Okay, not going anywhere in the x, just in the y. So let's look at where it starts. Well, it starts at 1, so y has to be greater than or equal to 1, starting at 1 right here, and it's stopping at 5. So that means y has to be less than or equal to 5. There's my first equation and my bounds for that equation. Okay, now let's take a look at this line here of my m. Okay, well, that's got some slope to it, and if I look at the slope, it looks like I'm going down 1 over 1. So that means my slope is negative 1, so I've got y equals negative x. Now I need to know where my y-intercept is. Well, if that thing kept going, it's going to cross at 0, so my y-intercept is 0. There's my equation for that line. Now the difference here now is I've got bounds going both places. I've got bounds in the x's, and I've got bounds in the y's. So let's take a look at the x's. Where does that start? Well, x has to be greater than or equal to negative 5, it looks like. And x has to be less than or equal to negative 3. So x is less than or equal to negative 3. Okay, that's super. No problems. Now let's look at the y's. Well, y, it looks like y has to be greater than, or, oops, wrong one, excuse me. Y has to be greater than or equal to 3, and y also has to be less than or equal to 5, because I'm going between 3 and 5 right here. In the y and in the x, I was going between negative 5 and negative 3. There's where my bounds come from. Okay, well, so far so good. I've got 2 of the 3 lines that make up this equation. Now let's do this one. Okay, let's do my third line. Well, again, that's a y equals. That's got slope, and it looks like I'm going up 1 over 1, so that means my slope is 1. So y equals x. Where would I cross the x or the y-axis? What's my y-intercept? Looks like 6. So y equals x plus 6. Now I need my bounds for this equation. Well, same idea. Let's do the x's first. If I go down here, where is it going between? Well, it looks like x has to be greater than or equal to negative 3, and x has to be less than or equal to negative 1. Not bad, not bad. Okay, let's look at the y's. Looking at this line again, where does it start and stop? On the y. Well, it looks like y has to be greater than or equal to 3, and y has to be less than or equal to 5. Okay, not a bad deal. So there's 3 of my lines with the bounds. Now let's take a look at my last line again. This one in green again. It's right here. That's vertical, so that's x equals. That's x equals, it's going to cross the x-axis, looks like at negative 1. So x equals negative 1. Let's take a look at my bounds where it starts and it stops in the y. Okay, so y has to be greater than, oops, I did it again. Excuse me. Y has to be greater than or equal to negative 1, and y has to be less than or equal to 5. Oops, I screwed that up again. Y has to be greater than or equal to 5, greater than or equal to 1, less than or equal to 5, excuse me, because I'm going from 1 to 5. So I have to be greater than or equal to 1, less than or equal to 5. There are my 4 lines, my 4 equations for lines with bounds for the m. And this is my letter with slope. So if you're struggling with the slope ones, the M here is the one to look at. Now, very quickly, let's go through the R, because it doesn't take much. There's only 2 lines. Okay, let's do the R. Well, this first line here, that's a vertical line again, so that's x equals, and it looks like it's going to cross the x-axis at 1. Okay, good enough. So that means, let's get rid of all that. So that means my bounds are y has to be, where's it going from the y? Has to be greater than or equal to 1. Y has to be less than or equal to 3. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Now let's take a look at my horizontal line. My horizontal line here. Okay, that's horizontal, so now that's a y equals. And it was going to cross the y-axis, looks like, at 3. Okay, now where's it starting and stopping in the x? Well, it looks like it's starting at 1, so y has to be greater than or equal to 1, and y has to be less than or equal to 3. Now, the only other thing I have for r is this period, which I just erased. I have a period right here. Now, some of you are dotting your i's with points, and that's fine. What are the coordinates of that point? Well, it looks like it is 3, 1. So there's the r with the period. Okay. So far, so good. There's all my equations for the m and the r. Now let's do the f real quickly. Okay, again, not too bad. Let's look at this vertical line. Where is it going to cross the x-axis? It's vertical, so that's an x equals. Crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4, so x equals 4. And my bounds, can't see it anymore, looks like it's going to go from 1 to 5 again. So y has to be greater than or equal to 1, and y has to be less than or equal to 5. There's my first equation for f. Okay, now let's do my second one. Okay, let's do this line here. Well, that's a horizontal line, so that's y equals. And it looks like it would cross at 5, so y equals 5. And let's take a look at where it starts and stops in the x-axis. Well, it looks like it's going to start at 4, so x has to be greater than or equal to 4. And it looks like it's going to stop out here at 7, so x has to be less than or equal to 7. Okay, not bad. There's my my second equation. I've only got one left, and that's this one here. That's another horizontal line, so that's y equals. Looks like it would cross at 3. Okay, well, let's take a look at my bounds. Where is it going to start and stop in the x? Well, it looks like it's going to start at 4 again, but this time it's going to stop at 6. So x has to be greater than or equal to 4, and x has to be less than or equal to 6. And there I have all the equations and all the lines for Mr. F with the period. Keep losing my period. Okay. If there are any questions there, come see me again. Hopefully this clears it up, gives you an example to watch. If you need more help, please come and see me.